Kamala Harris is back on the airwaves. She's doing her little book tour on TV, but she also has a book tour coming up live. We're going to show you some of the clips coming up on 10 Minutes of Truth with Barrett Baxa.
You're listening to Barrett and Baxa. Real stories, raw takes, and the slow, strange death of traditional media.
So, Bob, have you watched some of these interviews with Kamala?
Yes, I have. We don't deserve Kamala Harris.
I know.
Really, people like us could just do the entire, like all of this could be just Kamala. It could be
Too bad we just have 10 minutes to talk to her, talk about her.
10 minutes of goofing on Kamala Harris. Like, that could be a show. You could do an hour. God, thank you for Kamala Harris.
There you go. And I'm glad she's back. I mean, for conservatives, this is the best thing that could happen. Listen, I can tell you that I sat, Bob, I know you didn't have time to do it, but I sat and watched all 3 of the major interviews that she has done, which is The View, Good Morning America, and Rachel Maddow.
Good.
And I couldn't believe, essentially, if you watch one of them, you've watched them all, because she had so many rehearsed lines in this thing. She just keeps repeating the same things again and again and again. But we did get some gems, though.
So Kamala has had a year. She knows The View is going to talk about no difference between you and Joe Biden. All this time, and yet her answers, if anything, they're worse.
Hey, I'm going to start the clips, though, with something that you haven't seen, and you didn't know this. So this is kind of an exclusive clip. If you didn't watch The View, we're actually giving you something that all the other networks didn't give you. And I thought this one was very funny, and it has to do with what was happening at Kamala's house while they were watching returns come in, and what Dougie did while the returns were coming in. She's talking about it, and apparently they called their source over at Fox News, which is probably either Jessica Tarloff or Harold Ford Jr.
Yeah,
and they find out that at Fox, they're getting some bad news about the Democrats' chances in Pennsylvania. So she tells Doug this, and this is how she describes this story on The View.
But on his way back from a rally where there was an incredible amount of enthusiasm, people on the ground were like, we got it, we're going to do this. And then they talked with a mutual friend of ours who was over at Fox News in the war room, who had been hearing about data that suggested things were not looking great in Pennsylvania. And the way I write about it, I mean, my poor husband, so he didn't want to put that on me. He went upstairs and he basically went in the shower and prayed that it was not going to be a bad night.
That sounds like one of those fake stories that you make up in your... That did not happen. None of that happened. To me, that is a story that she said, what would be a story that would make me seem like a normal human? I know. I'll talk about Doug in the shower. Like, I don't believe
Doug praying in the shower.
Doug prayed in the shower. Like, that's something that people do. They pray in the shower, right?
Yeah. What gets me is that in the midst of watching election returns come in, suddenly Doug realizes, oh, I haven't showered yet.
Right.
Also, like he couldn't think of taking a shower prior to that. Like, wasn't he ready for the big night?
So this was an auxiliary shower. He had already had his main shower, and this was a secondary shower. Maybe we don't know. But also, I noticed several cans. If you remember from an earlier episode of Barrett and Baxa, the can is the concerned anchor noise, and this is a noise that every professional anchor must know how to make, and that's when you go. And there's at least 3 concerned anchor noises in that clip.
So I want to get into another clip. She was on 3 different shows, at least 3 different major shows that we know of. One of them was Good Morning America. And on all of the shows, she was asked...
Friendly.
All very friendly. But on each of the shows, she was asked a little bit about what was your relationship with Joe Biden, or how much did you know, what did you know, when. But I think that Michael Strahan sort of got to the point, if anybody did, the best. So let me play you how he approached that question about Joe Biden's condition.
I can only take responsibility for myself. And on reflection, and I talk about it in the context of asking a question of myself, was that grace to not bring it up to him, or was it reckless? And on my part, I do reflect on that and feel that there was a recklessness. My concern about him running for re-election was completely separate from my admiration and knowledge about his capacity to serve as President of the United States, which was consistent and never wavered.
Well, when we sit here, as we sit here today, do you think he would have been up for running the country for 4 more years?
Here's the distinction that I make. And having had the experience myself, it is one thing to have the capacity to govern. It is another thing to go through an election for President of the United States. So you are an athlete. You may appreciate this kind of metaphor. Running for President of the United States is like being in a marathon at a sprinter's pace with people throwing tomatoes at you every step you take.
Okay, Bob.
So, first of all, can I just point out, this woman, how many interviews has this woman done? Why does she keep touching her microphone? How many times are you going to go like this and hit your microphone? I mean, how stupid are you? How does this woman not know to not touch her microphone? Seriously.
And how does she not realize that the presidential campaign, yes, it is grueling, but that's what we need because the presidency is grueling. The moment you walk into office, I mean, you're flying here, you're flying there, you're always on the wrong time zone. You're basically getting woken up in the middle of the night all the time, for whatever's going to be happening. And if he can't handle that on the campaign trail, how does he handle it in the White House? And
he can't.
So she clearly doesn't know what the job takes. And when you watch these interviews, you realize this is the kind of treatment she would have gotten from the press if she were currently president. So this is, at a press briefing, this is the kind of softball questions and interviews that she would get, where everyone kind of asks the hard questions, but then just kind of nods along with her as she deflects and gives them this crap answer that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, the softball questions, no follow-up. I mean, Michael Strahan, who's not, he's a football player. He actually isn't horrible. He's better than The View. But it just shows ABC from morning to midday tonight. So from Michael Strahan in the morning to The View at midnight to David Muir to Jimmy Kimmel, the entire day on ABC is just kissing the ass of Democrats, accepting idiotic answers, asking no follow-up. I mean, it's an entire network of Democrat propaganda.
And it's curious to me, why wouldn't they have had George Stephanopoulos? I mean, he anchors their big Sunday show this week. He is essentially the if you would call it a hardcore journalist or a serious journalist. Why wouldn't they have him talk to Kamala Harris? The only awkward moment really in any of these interviews came with Rachel Maddow, when she asked the question about Pete Buttigieg and why he was not picked for the vice presidency.
To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for President of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for President of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk.
So she's basically saying that he was not on the ticket because it wasn't that he was gay, it was that he was gay.
Correct. He can't be on. I love when she goes, no. I didn't say he couldn't be on the ticket because he's gay. I said that he is a gay man and therefore could not be on the ticket. See, it's completely different.
Yeah. One of the things that, and maybe I missed it, but I don't think that I did because I listened to all these interviews. There was never really any question about the biggest story of the week. Why not ask her about the Charlie Kirk assassination?
Oh, yeah. No,
I think they skirted around the idea of Jimmy Kimmel being taken off the air, but they never got straight to the issue of what do you think of this assassination, especially after today, someone, an Antifa type person on a rooftop with a gun happens again in Dallas today.
Yep.
I mean, it's that issue has to be pounded into these Democrats' minds, and they have to be questioned about what's going on here, that suddenly everybody's getting on a rooftop, everybody's shooting at television stations, they're putting bombs under live trucks. This has got to stop. I got very upset after Charlie Kirk was murdered.
Yeah, me too.
And I felt like the Democrats have just become, on the left, this group that's like, okay, well, violence, sometimes it has to be violence,
Absolutely.
And there are polls that say that liberals are 4 times more willing to use and to think that violence is acceptable. And that's what's happening. And nobody's questioning anyone on the left about, hey, why is this? Why every other day now are we waking up to someone on the left firing a gun, placing a bomb?
It's media malpractice day after day after day.
And they did it again with Kamala Harris.
Well, that's it for this episode of Barrett and Baxa. Like, subscribe, and do all that other stuff podcasts want you to do.